Hello and welcome to this hip mobility class that's going to work with the stuck emotions in your hips. We're going to be doing the whole class reclining on our backs, so find your nice, comfortable laying position here. And just to begin with, get into what usually would be your Shavasana pose. So flare out the feet and the legs to the sides, perhaps open up your palms to the sky and really feel the connections of your body to the floor, to the mat. And we're just going to start slowly playing with our hips a little bit here. So feel free to place your hands on your hip bones for the whole class. If this is really something that you would like to explore, to feel how your hips are moving. Perhaps they've been stuck for so many months or years due to the stagnation and the emotional stuckness there. So this is just going to help you really reconnect with your hips, reconnect with those emotions stuck there. And let's start exploring a little bit with the movement, gentle movement of our pelvis, tucking and untucking it. See how this feels for you. Find your own rhythm here. Basically trying to glue the lower back to the floor and arch it so that there's a nice little space between the mat and your lower back. This is essentially what tucking and untucking your pelvis will do, introducing some very gentle, slow movements here. And feel free to close your eyes for any part of this practice, just to experience whatever is arising in you at this moment. Just a few more times, tucking and untucking the pelvis, arching the lower back, gluing it to the mat. Come back to center, and now imagine you're making little circles with your pelvis here. Just freestyle it, whatever feels good. Tracing little circles on the mat with your pelvis, moving it laterally side to side. So again, introducing some novelty into your hips here. Perhaps switch directions. See maybe if one side is feeling a bit stickier than the other. Don't judge at this moment. Just experience what your body is feeling. And a few more times. And in your own time, come back to stillness. Now bring your feet together here with your toes pointing up to the sky, to the ceiling. Feel free to keep your hands on your hip bones here or place them on the sides of your mat, whatever feels more comfortable here for you. And for the first spiral, we're going to activate our core gently and start bringing the knees in, bending the knees. Imagine you're sliding your heels on your mat, just touching it ever so gently until the knees are bent and the heels are almost touching your sit bones here. And as soon as they do, start opening up the knees to the sides, finding a reclining butterfly, the soles of your feet coming together. Rest here for just a moment. Once again, hands on your hip bones if this is feeling comfortable. Let's just explore for a few breaths here how this hip opening feels in your body. For the next in-breath, start bringing the knees up together to touch. And slide the feet back down. The heels come sliding on your mat, straightening the legs slowly and with control. Let's repeat a few more times your first hip spiral here, really working with those hip joints here, allowing some motion. Next in-breath, gently activate your core, start bending your knees, sliding the heels up your mat, all the way to your sit bones. As soon as you reach your limit, open up the knees, soles of the feet touch, dropping the knees down, reclining butterfly. And on the next in-breath, bring the knees in and start sliding the heels down the mat. Again, with control, noticing how your hips and your core are working together. A few more times with your own breath. Breath in, coming up. Opening the knees to the sides. Breathe out. Breath in again, bringing the knees together, sliding them out. One last time, bringing the knees in, opening them up for the reclining butterfly pose, bringing them in, and sliding the heels out to straighten feet once again. Well done. That was the first spiral of this class, really warming up those hips really nicely, working with the hip joints, with that external rotation, but also with the activation that is needed to support your hips in your day-to-day. So find again a nice central position here with a small arch in your lower back so that you're nice and supported. Now we're going to move into our single leg spirals. So on the next out breath, imagine you are dropping the pinky toe of your left foot to the floor. So this is the external rotation of your hip here. Just dropping that pinky toe down to the mat as much as you can. Probably is not going to touch, but it doesn't matter. Just working with that external rotation here and feeling that movement being initiated at the hip, not at the ankle or the knee, but at the hip. Your whole leg is essentially falling outwards. Let's just experience this motion, this movement in your body. Perhaps again, placing your left hand on your left hip here and noticing how the hip responds to that opening. Perhaps if you're feeling any stuckness or tension in that hip, if it doesn't want to budge, just be with it, invite it to this practice, and know that you're here to soften that. 2 more times, dropping the pinky toe down, lifting it back up to center. Drop it down and lift it up. And repeat the same on the right leg. Now drop the right foot down to the floor, the pinky as close to the mat as possible, and lift it up back so that the toes are pointing towards the ceiling. Dropping and feeling that movement being initiated by the hip. Place your right hand on your hip bone to feel that movement. Feel that how that hip is moving. Again, it's not the ankle or the knee. 2 more times. Well done. Come back to center. We're going to add a little something to this movement. So now let's repeat on the left side once again. Touch the left side pinky toe to the mat. And now bend the knee, start sliding the heel up on the mat so that the heel is coming up to your sit bones as much as possible for a version of a half reclining butterfly here. So something that we just did right now, so your hips are feeling a bit warmer in this pose. Feel free to hang out here for just a moment. And on the next in-breath, bring the knee in, slide it back down. And this is your spiral that we're going to explore. Drop that left foot pinky toe to the floor, to the mat. Bend the knee, slide the heel up towards your sit bone. Knee in towards your center, slide back down. A few more times at your own pace, feeling your own body here, feeling that hip joint, getting some movement in, some fluidity. Perhaps it's been stuck for so many months. Now this is your chance to introduce something new. Sliding the heel up towards your sit bones, bringing it in and sliding it back down. One last time, open up. External rotation of the hip, the pinky toe almost touching the floor, bending the knee, sliding the heel up and releasing. Well done. Take a breather here if needed. We're going to repeat the same on the right side. Drop the right foot so the pinky toe touches the floor. Bend the knee, slide the heel up to your sit bones. Close the knee in towards the center and slide back down. A few more times with your own breath at your own pace. Try to imagine there's a lot of fluidity in that hip. So this is not a mechanical movement. Don't split it into parts, but see if it can flow between the dropping of the pinky toe, the bending of the knee, bringing it to the center and sliding it back down. Can there be a gentle wave to that movement? This will help you go against all of that tension, that emotional stagnation in your hips. By introducing the physical mobility and fluidity, you're introducing emotional mobility and fluidity. One last time. Dropping the pinky toe out to the side, bringing the knee in, the heel in, bringing the knee in towards the center and releasing. Well done. Now a little bit for an internal rotation play of your hips here. So this time, step your feet a little bit further away from each other so the heels are not touching here. And on the next out breath, imagine you're dropping your left hand, your left foot toe to the floor. So internally rotating that hip. This might be a little bit more difficult for you, but still try to fight for some space here. Try to create some space in your hip. And as you do, start bending your knee. So this time your knee comes across your right thigh. Again, the heel coming to your sit bones. And when you reach your limit, open up the knee, bringing to the center, and send the heel and the foot back down. Well done. Now that we have the movement, let's repeat a few more times with fluidity. Drop the toe, bend the knee, slide the heel to the sit bones, open the knee up to the center, and release back down. Drop the toe, bend the knee, slide, open, and release back down. 2 more times, noticing the resistance of your hip to internally rotate here. Know that this is okay. We don't often work on our internal hip rotation, and this is usually where I see so many people getting stuck in their hips. And if the hips don't have fluid mobility in all sides, there's going to be issues in terms of stuckness, emotional stuckness, physical tension. One last time, drop the toe to the mat, bend the knee, bring it across the right thigh, straighten up to the center, and release back. Now let's repeat with the right foot. Drop the right thumb to the floor, bring the right knee across the left thigh, sliding on your mat here. Bring the knee back to center. Open up to straight foot. Drop. The toe comes to the mat as much as possible. Bending the knee, coming across the other leg, straightening up. And releasing the leg. 2 more times. Dropping the toe, bending the knee, knee back to center, and sliding the heel down, dropping the toe, knee across the left foot, the left leg, knee back to center, sliding it back down. Well done. Now just to close this practice, Bring your knees into your chest for a nice little hug here. Reset your lower back. Perhaps move each foot, each leg here inside of that hip socket. Feel how that is experienced in your body. Feel any of those sensations. And in your own time, release the feet back to the floor. Roll to your side, come back up to seated. I want to thank you for joining me in this hip mobility class designed to help you with feeling the stuck emotions in your hips so you can release them.